Hi. So there are 5 common difficult conversations that we find in practically every school we work with. There's a tiny, tiny number who don't have these issues, but the vast majority have at least one of the 5, if not several. I'm going to share these 5 common difficult conversations with you, and you'll know if you've got them. So the first, I call Mr. My Way. This is the person who wants to do things their way and not the way you as a school want to do them. That might be marking policy, it might be how they follow the sickness policy, but whatever it is, they never quite get that consistency with the rest of the school, even though you've talked about it, you've raised it, you've shared it. The second is lateness, or Miss Tardy, as I like to characterise this issue. Now, I want to be really clear, I have nothing against teaching assistants. I have met, and as a teacher, I've had amazing teaching assistants. But in my experience, the vast majority of the time, the lateness issue does live with teaching assistants. Once it's been a teacher and occasionally some admin staff. But Miss Tardy and lateness, whether it's in teaching assistants or another role, that issue does exist in schools a lot. The third, quite a specific role, not that many of them in your schools, the receptionist or Mrs. Watt. Instead of welcoming people to the school, warmly, making them feel welcome, they can kind of, be a little bit abrupt. Someone comes to reception, and when they do finally come over, like, yes, what? Who are you here to see? And it's that kind of exasperation. The person's been interrupted from the work they were doing. So sadly, receptionists are one that come up surprisingly often. And whilst that's often quite a standalone role, so is the next one, the 4th common difficult conversation we see, and that is Mr. Manana, the caretaker. Yeah. Interesting dynamic quite often with caretakers. But I've titled this issue as Mr. Manana because quite often things aren't done as promptly or as quickly as needed. Now, again, I have met phenomenal caretakers. It's not every caretaker in the land, but it is an issue that comes up regularly. And then the final one. This is that person who wears their special face in staff meetings and assemblies. You know the one, it looks like this. And they suck the life out of the room. They can be a real mood hoover. And if you're the person presenting, then as much as you try not to be affected by them, it's hard not to be affected by them. I call this issue Mrs. Dementer. Now, imagine if you could fix these issues, because we've come across these time and time again. We've been training school leaders in how to have successful, difficult conversations since 2011. So you can imagine the amount of times we've come across these issues and we fix them kindly and effectively. So where, people popped up in your mind as, demonstrating these issues, imagine what it would be like if we could fix those. Now, I do want to say that none of these people come to work to do a bad job. They don't. I don't think anyone comes to work to do a bad job, despite the way it might sometimes feel. Through an effective conversation, we can move it forward. And often what we find is the person, whether it's Mrs. Dementer or Mr. My Way, quite often what our school leaders report to us is that person thanked them for making them aware and supporting them to improve. It's not every time, but it's more often than you would think. So 5 common difficult conversations, all of which I say with many years' experience can be fixed kindly and effectively. Have you got them? If you're like most schools, you'll have at least one, if not a few. I hope this was helpful to you. And I hope, if nothing else, it helped you see that you're not alone with these issues. They exist, but also that there is a way through. If you'd like to know about our training, then go along to ukheadsup.com and check out our successful difficult conversations training. We would love to support you and your leadership team and your school resolve these issues kindly and effectively.